So welcome to K Gallery's virtual reception of Demystifying the Journey, an art of the African Diaspora satellite exhibit. My name is Janet Koika. I am the founder of Rhythmix Cultural Works and the director of K Gallery. For those of you who are not familiar with the K Gallery at Rhythmix, the gallery supports the organization's mission to bring people together and build community by inspiring engagement in the arts. We're based in Alameda, and you can learn more about our programming on the Rhythmix website. So just for a little Zoom etiquette here, we'd like to ask everybody to mute themselves unless you're going to speak. And please hold your questions for the artists until the end, and we'll open it all up then. So that's just, and if you have anything that you want to say, you can always type it in the chat, and Jennifer's going to be keeping track of that in case there's something that needs to be said. So tonight's exhibit, Demystifying the Journey, highlights the work of 9 outstanding African-American artists in the Bay Area, featuring the recipients of the Art of the African Diaspora Artistic Achievement Awards from 2018 to 2020. Demystifying the Journey advances the theme of creating our future. And you can see, Fong has started screen sharing. Creating Our Future was an installation at Alameda's Chochenyo Park. It was renamed from Jackson Park, and this was a collaboration between the City of Alameda, Rhythmix, and the Art of the African Diaspora. It was curated by artist Stephen Bruce, and it was a pretty wonderful installation, as you can see. There's Tiffany, Conway. Well, okay. You can go to the website. Some of the artists are also showing tonight. So since that slide changed on me, those are the beautiful, beautiful Creating Our Future pieces, which you should go see live and in person. So tonight, I'd like to begin by introducing Tōmye, who acted as the coordinator for this show and focused the theme on demystifying the journey. So if we can highlight Tōmye and maybe a speaker view of Tōmye, and have the Art of the African Diaspora composite up there for everybody to look at. So this is the person who guided the theme, and I'd like to ask her what demystifying the journey means.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining from all over, from wherever you are. We being the 9, there are 9 different, ironically all female artists, African American descent, or identify themselves as African American descent. And I was in the 2018. There are 3 of us representing 2018, the year. There are 3 people representing 2019, and there are 3 people representing 2020. And as I went through my thoughts and asked different artists who are involved what their outlook is with life, I just thought demystifying the theme seems appropriate for what's going on with people not understanding that we have very much a lot of commonality, but there seems to be still some people who are believing there's some mysterious aspect to people of color, and that we all are going through a journey, some of us with other people and some of us singularly. And it's important for people to understand that there's nothing really mysterious about our journey, but the way that we can help that along is to explain what we're doing. And that's basically why I chose that title.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So now I'd like to reintroduce you as the artist by reading a little bit of your statement. Artistically detailing moments of life and portraiture fascinates Tōmye. She enjoys the challenge of capturing likeness. She employs her skills of using gouache, sometimes combining it with calligraphy and photos, to raise the level of the subject from static and engage the viewer. She remains an avid photographer, but doesn't feel the need to create photorealistic images. So, Tōmye, could you tell us more about your work? And let's see some of it as well.
Okay, so thank you, Janet, and Fong is going to highlight the particular artwork that was chosen in 2018. It's called Sherman Act, Belonging, and it's basically about two different aspects of that affected African Americans. The Sherman Act was put in place by the government supposedly to give Southern African American farmers the 40 acres and a mule, which most people or a lot of people are familiar with that aspect of it, but they don't know that that never happened. And the people who are fortunate enough to still live in the South or have moved back to the South and have reclaimed some land is really because they went through a lot of effort to do that. The little girl who kind of looks like she's coming up out of the land, she represents belonging, which was part of Toni Morrison's presentation of things belong to everybody. There is no specific ownership of anything. Like if you believe in like Native indigenous people, there is a belief that we don't own anything. We think that we do. We have very strange ideas about putting money value on air and water and land, and we have so many disparate things that are going on because of that. So these are two different thoughts coupled together. And this is a gouache painting.
Would you like to tell us about any of the other paintings?
I can go through quickly. I know that you said we were only going to have a few minutes. So the one in the center, Fong, I'll just go kind of counterclockwise. I did a collaboration with another artist, Elizabeth Dante. Those are her ceramic heads that are peering through holes in each of these three panels. This is a 3-panel, it's 9 feet long, and the gouache on the painting part is gouache. And this is a style that I used to do a lot and was known for outlining the various sections of my painting and separating different things. So when we collaborated, of course, there needed to be a lot of measurement to make sure that we had the right height so that the heads didn't look disproportionate to the body. I had a dear friend who actually sat for me so he could be my model so I could get the figures as accurate as possible. There's a little bit off skelter kind of thing with the ratio of the chairs to the bodies and a little stiffness in the bodies. But I would say the most involved thing with this particular collaboration and my part of it was a lot of the silver that you see, or it may not register silver in the background, but it's actually the inside of potato chip bags. Because anybody who knows me knows that I used to eat a lot of potato chips, and that only stopped since COVID happened. And it was the weirdest thing because the two had nothing to do with one another, except I realized that being a little bit more sedentary than normal, I have a propensity to have salt and affect me in a negative way. So I gave up. I was cold turkey. I gave up my potato chips.
Thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
can I jump in here and tell everyone that the exhibit went live as of tonight so that all these works can be viewed on the website. You can take your time and look at these. So maybe if you could just speak a little bit about one more to give everybody else enough time.
Okay. Well, I can just say quickly, the one I'm still going counterclockwise. So the one to the Fong, the one on the extreme left, that's a collage. There are photographs and gouache. Okay, so you can look at that, as Janet said, when you have more time. The one below her is, that's a gouache painting on cork. I was experimenting to see just how challenging it is to paint on cork, and cork is so absorbent. It took a lot of layers and layers and layers to do this particular painting. But I was really taken with this young man who was very impressive when I heard him talking to people. He didn't use foul language. He was very presentable. And I asked his permission. I said, I want to do a painting of you. And he said, sure, fine. So that's what this is. The one that's next to him in the middle is actually three different, they're made to look like 4x6 postcards, but it was during the time of COVID where you don't see the entire of all three of the images. The very last one is a little girl playing her cello, but they all look kind of sad because they can't go anywhere. And then the last one is actually the one that's to the right of this one. I think Fong is identifying it. This one is a detail of a dog. I say to friends that I know that have pets, you know, the pet probably wonders like what's going on during last year, because you would have had still the need to take your pet outside, but your schedule might be different. And so that's why I have this pet in the middle, actually on the edge. And that's pretty much what I have submitted for this exhibit.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Tōmye.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So the next artist I'd like to introduce to you is Fan Lee Warren. Fan lives, works, teaches drawing, painting, and art history at Laney Community College in Oakland. She was born in Birmingham, Alabama, and raised in Chicago. Her work depicts a mixture of popular and historical perceptions of Black people in the Americas. She paints her figures on stressed paper, arranging them within layered fragments of memories and events, surrounded by a transformative ancient spiral. So beautiful. Can you speak about these, Fan? Are you there? Yes. You need to unmute yourself.
Here I am. Hi. Here I am. So, Fung, can you please put up Legacy D for me, please? That's that last image that I sent. Yeah. Thank you. So this is the image that was in last year's show. My work is about how the past affects the present and the future of Black people in the Americas. Also, I feel like I need to pay homage to historical memories, such as the Black migration and my elders' wisdom. I'm going to ask for the next image, which is Legacy B Migration. Thank you. So the works on paper in this exhibit are from the Legacy series. The depiction of children in this series represents the present. The backgrounds that you see in the majority of these pieces represents the historical past that they're standing on, moving through. Okay, I'm not going to talk anymore about that one. Let's move on to the next one, because I'm talking about the overview of the work, and that is Legacy E, please. Right in the middle, right? So the spiral in my work represents the spirit of the time and the cycle of life. There's this quote that I really love, but unfortunately, I don't know who said this quote, and it goes like this. It says, each loop of the spiral brings one back to the same place in timeless movement and flow. Mm. Now, in my work, I often stress the paper surface with fire, earth, and herbs to emulate an old document. Images are then drawn, painted, and printed with both traditional and non-traditional materials. And often the work is then displayed in antique colonial frames. So you said I had a few minutes. So what I wanted to do is just give an overview of the work. There's two other images, and those images are the first two, and that's Legacy K and Legacy Y. Now, those are the only two in this exhibit that does not have a background. And the reason that those do not have a background is that these are studies. They were meant to be studies, but they ended up being not only studies, but a source of my experimentation. And they're probably images, I shouldn't say probably, they're images that I will not explore them any further than the studies, but they were images that I was interested in, and just in terms of the composition and the content, of course. That's it.
Thank you so much. These are amazing. I hope people spend a lot of time looking at the website on their own. So Tiffany Conway was part of creating our future. She did a piece called Reluctant Paradise. You can, I'm kind of small there, but it's the blue figures. And reading a little bit from her statement, Tiffany Conway's paintings break from generational curses and open the door to beautiful beginnings. Overcoming stereotypes and an absentee mother, art has provided Tiffany with the tools to communicate in a way that she was not able to do before. Growing her creativity from life experiences, art has allowed her to retreat, restore, and express all that she has learned from moving through the world as a Black woman. And I love this part of her statement. I believe that it is important to unmask the myth of what strong should be. So, Tiffany, can you tell us more?
Sure. I don't necessarily have formal education. I've been in and out of, college for a long time, never really completing, but I continue to teach myself what I didn't learn in terms of like learning more about art and learning how to draw and paint figures. And I rely quite a bit on color to communicate. I'll say the one that that participated in last year's show was Young Elder, and that's the middle down at the bottom there. So my work is, I would say that it's about my life, but I tend to not use myself as the figure, or I try and disguise myself as the figure in some way. But it is usually about events or realizations that come about in my life. And this one is called Young Elder. And I was going through a lot at that time in 2009, but I kind of feel like I was, kind of at the end of, over the hump, so to speak. And I just woke up one day and I just, I started working. And it's really about, always being, wiser beyond your years, which, I've been told that before. And, in the time of, me going through, the tough time that I had, I realized that I had a lot of unlearning to do about, moving through life in the way that I was moving through it. And that's why we have, the fish in the air and we have the birds, kind of swimming down below. And I used a really bright, non-traditional landscape background to, kind of express that, things are not necessarily always what they appear to be. Another piece that I can talk about is To the Right of Young Elder, and it's called Heal Thy Damn Self. Again, this was another painting that I was, managing while I was, kind of going through my funk. And I was left to myself quite a bit to, work through some stuff and to heal myself. And I wanted to create a separate energy that's kind of outside myself that I know is there and supporting me and guiding me along the way. And this person or this character, is represented in spirit. And that's why she has so much color. She's multidimensional, and the dots kind of represent stars. And it's like she's there, but she's she's a part of me, but she's also outside of me and helping me get through these things. And I gave her the glowing hands as, you know, a symbol of support and warmth during those times.
And Tiffany, you have a video. Did you submit a video to us? No.
Yeah.
You did, but you took it away.
Yeah, it was kind of,
It was
I'm
a process video.
It's a process video, and I'm working on some stuff for my solo show, and you know, I just wanted to kind of keep it private for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then speak about another piece.
Sure. Let's see. I can talk about Yim Maya. So all of these, you know, they were really, I worked on these in 2019, and then in the beginning of 2020, kind of like right before the pandemic happened. And I call her Yemaya because this is my version of Yemaya. I had a dream about her. I actually had a dream where I was looking at a painting of her. And I woke up and decided to paint my version of her based on the dream that I had. And to be honest with you, she actually reminds me quite a bit of like one of my family members. But I wanted to paint, you know, a lot of my work actually in terms of like nudes, they show breasts, because I honestly just don't think we see enough, you know, I don't really think we see enough big Black full breasts. And I think that they're beautiful, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with hiding them. And I wanted to show her, you know, without that modesty, but like also still being very soft and beautiful. And I chose that background and the color palette intentionally to just kind of reinforce the softness of her.
Beautiful. And so artists, you should be looking at the chat. Everybody is putting in comments about your work. All very nice comments. So thank you so much. The next artist would be Val Kai. And Val was exposed early to the art world. She began studying music, then dance, then painting. Along with those endeavors, there was a camera, and photography slowly became her main vehicle of expression. Creating and capturing moments, preserving and documenting the Black experience in her artistic vision. So, Val, would you tell us about your work?
Oh,
You're muted. You need to unmute yourself. Uh-oh. Cute, but
Can you hear me now?
yes, but we can't see you. You
Uh-oh.
turned off your video. Go to the video the picture of the video camera.
Got it.
There you go.
So I didn't put in the work that I was awarded for. I'm a little new at this artist talk piece, so bear with me. The first three images, Fong, if you could highlight those, the first three. Yeah. This is a second line band. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a second line band is. You know, it's a New Orleans Southern tradition where the band marches down the street. You know, this is when someone passes away, the way to honor them and remember their life is to do a sort of a party in the street where you have, mostly horn players and drummers marching up and down the street and just having a party in the street. So here in the Bay Area, we have a couple of second line bands, and this is one of them. This is the Twilight Band. I was able to catch them at a bereavement ceremony for a community member, an elder, and I've seen them before. They're a really great band. So I wanted to catch them in action again, and I was able to capture some good pictures. And this one here is the guy with the big bass drum is the leader of the Twilight Band, and this is a group shot of them, and the other is of the snare drum, which is the kind of the main drum in the ensemble. The next three pictures, I do a lot of different things with my photography. I have a lot of different focuses. I don't just focus on one particular area. I have several. Performing arts is one. And from time to time, I will photograph murals. We have a lot of spots in the Bay Area where there's been some really great mural work. I really admire the muralists because they work on such a big canvas. I just admire them, you know, their work is just really awesome to me. Lately, we've had a lot of victims of gun violence. And one was Mario Woods, who lived in the Bayview. He was a young man that lived in the Bayview that was killed by the police a couple of years ago. And this mural is in honor of him. So that's what that particular photo is about. Let me see the other one. The next one is of a musician who was, this was at the Life is Living celebration that we have in the Bay Area. I have a yearly, really serious event calendar. And I go to a lot of community events where a lot of us gather, a lot of Black people gather, you know, usually pretty much Black events. Life is Living is one of them. And this gentleman right here, he's a local musician, Howard Wiley. He had on these shades that day in honor of Malcolm X. And it really caught my eye. So I was able to capture him with his saxophone, honoring Malcolm with his shades. Mm. And then the next one, this last one. I love to photograph twins. And these young guys are really special. I photographed them it's been 2 years now, 2 years ago, when I took this picture, one of a series. And we did some fun stuff. This one shoot, I did several.
Did we lose Val? Jennifer, did we lose Val or did I just lose her?
She's frozen on my
I had
screen.
this little story thing where,
There she is.
am I going over my time?
No, you were frozen for a second there.
Okay. So they wanted to be like outer space, you know, guys coming from Wakanda via outer space. So that's kind of the theme with these. What I did with the photograph though, which I've done with several of my photographs as of late, is I put it on canvas to give it a more an appearance of a piece, an art piece. So I threw this on canvas, and on top of that, I did a little abstract painting in the back to serve as a background or a frame. So.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Val. And now we have Abby Mustapha. She also was part of Creating Our Future, and it's great to work with her again. Abby is a Sierra Leonean artist. Her work is primarily focused on large-scale portraiture and illustration inspired by examining the beauty of cross-cultural diversity. Her art examines the complexity of expression and identity through the creative process by drawing many small details in large scale. Graphite, charcoal, and oil paint on paper are her preferred mediums. And you can see this great motion capture.
And time lapse.
Thank you, time lapse. And we could let it run a little more, but we wanna hear Abby speak in person too.
I might be able to just talk over it.
Okay.
Yeah, this one was done. I had a residency at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History. And so I had a really large space to work in. So I was able to do really, really large portraits. And so the one in the picture ended up, it's really, really large, and ended up going to a museum show in Indiana, and it's still there. And then I did 3 other ones. So I have 4 total that I will be adding to my website soon. I haven't had a lot of time to do a lot of digital uploading stuff. So, but yeah, that's how I work. I do a lot of portraits of people from East and West Africa. And I either work from my own photos or from photos of other people that I have permission to use. So the portrait that I'm working on there, that was like, his clothing is mixed media, and it's called Dressed in the Times. And so it's a drawing and a mixed media piece, obviously with paint in it in the background. And that one was just speaking to what's going on right now, especially like how hard it is to just be every day, you know, and just like to have this young man who's just like having a cup of coffee, chilling, being happy. And then his clothing is made up of all the things that are happening. So it was like different magazine articles, history, stuff that I found just made sense to changes that were going on around us. And that's what that one kind of just embodies, the times. And then the piece that I have on the website is called Sweet Mother. And that one specifically, there's a song that at all the weddings, at all of the Sierra Leonean weddings, that we play this song called Sweet Mother, and it's the mother's dance. And so all of the mothers in the room dance to this song, and you're only allowed to go on the floor to dance with these mothers if you give them money. So it's like this kind of money dance for all the mothers. And so people are just kind of like throwing money at all the mothers, but the song is called Sweet Mother. And that's what I was reminded of, like in this picture, just like, and the whole song just talks about all the giving that mothers do that you don't know. So the person in the song is just like singing of like, I'll never forget you. You've done all this for me, sweet mother. And that's so traditional. So the name came from that song. And obviously this is a mother and child portrait. And this one's had several iterations. You know, initially I didn't have the white and gold background. I just had it on a wooden background, and I was experimenting with that just to see what a natural background would look like next to the graphite. And I think I put just a little bit of black oil paint in this for contrast, but I decided to change it because I've been doing a lot of gold in my pieces, and this one might get another iteration as well. I still have this piece, so I might keep working with it. That's what happens when I don't get rid of a piece right away. So, but this piece was really, really fun to work on. And it's from a photo series by the photographer, John Kenny. And I used the photo with permission. We have a deal where I can use his photos as long as I'm doing original art with them. So his photos are just stunning. And he works with a lot of tribes in East Africa. This woman is Samburu, and he does conservation work there as well. And I just loved his work. And I was kind of stalking him for several years before I had the courage to actually ask him if I could use a photo. And I actually, the piece that I won an award with in the show, I think it was 2019, 2018, I don't know which year Zoe and KaLiMa and I won the Artistic Achievement Award, but that piece actually I did the piece, and then I asked him if I could use the photo, and he was really, really super stoked and down for me to use his photos, and so it feels kind of like a collaboration between us. And yeah.
That's beautiful. I hope you don't change it too much.
Thanks.
So thank you, Abby. And Zoe Boston, we'd like to introduce her. And she's a multifaceted artist who's been drawing since youth. She was born in LA, raised in upstate New York, and began painting when she returned to the West Coast. She lives here in Oakland now. She was also part of Creating Our Future and has a really beautiful video that tells you a great deal. So can we show her video before? Thank you.
My name is Zoe Boston. I grew up in upstate New York. I currently live in Oakland, California, and I'm an artist. So when people see my work, I want them to experience God. I want them to feel the sincerity. I want them to experience the journey that it took to get to that painting. I want them to be impacted by it in a positive way. So my sources of inspiration, they come from everywhere. More recently, they've been coming from understanding who God is more and showing that through my art. But a lot of my inspirations come from life, music, hardships, going through journeys. I like to portray untangible things in tangible form in images. So I like to show metaphors or analogies through images and song. So a lot of what I do as far as how I'm inspired comes from hardship or really being a really good song. And I'll think about that, I'll meditate on it, what it means to me, how can I show that in like a physical, tangible way. So my artistic approach, it varies because sometimes the music will come first, the idea for the song or lyrics will come first, and other times the image will come first. Sometimes I just have like one part of the piece and I put that down and leave it for a while and come back to it later. It kind of depends on how it strikes me. Like if it's just like an instant like inspiration. It's like, oh my goodness, I need to put this down so I don't forget it, so I don't mess it up, so I don't add anything I'm not supposed to add. Or so it differs, but it's in a range from either I'll paint it first or I'll write down lyrics and record it first, or sometimes it happens at the same time.
Beautiful. Now we get to hear you speak in person.
Hello. I think I'm going to first talk about the painting that won in the award in 2019. And that painting is called Weightless. It's in the bottom left. Yeah, so with this painting, it's called Weightless. I wanted to show just the importance of not letting the weight of this world keep you down. And so I wanted to show that she was just, levitating just inches off the ground to show that no matter what she may be going through, she can still rise above it. And so that's also why there are drips coming from her that are levitating upwards to kind of show that gravity doesn't have a hold on her. I have her hair flowing into water, which represents the release of things and life flowing, because everything starts in your mind. So it's kind of like a cleansing. That's why I wanted to show her hair. So coming from her head, just everything being released and cleansed. And I have my symbols, my signature symbols. I put them in all of my work, and it's kind of levitating around her, and it represents life and kind of tapping into, you know, spiritual, supernatural, because it's all freehand, but it represents like a supernatural or angelic language. And the butterfly, I also put butterflies and hummingbirds in almost all of my paintings. And in this one, the butterfly represents growth and change. And so it's coming towards her, attracted to her, because she's constantly, you know, elevating and changing and growing. And even though it's painful, sometimes it's also, as you see, very beautiful. So yeah, that's Weightless.
Maybe one more.
And yeah, so I can talk about, I'll do Through the Veil. This piece, oh man. So I was going through, I mean, a lot of my paintings like are inspired from transitional periods and journeys, as we heard earlier, but this one I was kind of going through a pivotal turning point in my life. Things kind of were falling apart, and I was just kind of trying to make sense of where I was in life at the time. And in that process of things falling apart, one of the things that was constant in my life was God. And so through this process, like, it's showing my journey closer to God and understanding that there's a lot more out there than the basic things that you've heard, you know, maybe in Sunday school or wherever it may be. But this is just a representation of elevating mentally and spiritually to another level or another realm. And so it was my best way to depict what it felt like to see things from a more spiritual eye. So it's almost like the white that her face is kind of peering through is like light. It's a whole nother realm of light that she's made it through to get more understanding of this world and things that happen here in this world. And also, you see my symbols. I used a metallic vinyl for these. So I cut these pieces and glued each piece individually. In person, it changes colors depending on the angle you're at, which is a really cool effect because it kind of shows like the elevation and this whole nother dimension. And it also, if you look closely, you can see the symbols lightly coming out of her mouth as she's like uttering prayers to God. I also wanted to show like her necklace floating around her neck to kind of show another sense of rising above the elements of this world, you know, as you get closer to God. So yeah, this one's called Through the Veil, and that's my process for that one.
Thank you, Zoe. So beautiful.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And next, I'd like to introduce KaLiMa AmiLak, who is an Afro-Caribbean photographer and multidisciplinary artist. Can somebody mute yeah, thank you. Through their movement in art, they are devoted to self-expression and celebration for Black queer people sharing their life experiences as a means of healing through empowerment. And we'd like to start with a beautiful video that KaLiMa has posted on the website. I'm sorry, my cat's yelling. I will go mute now.
Hi, my name is KaLiMa AmiLak. I am a multidisciplinary artist and photographer. I was also the Jan Hartshires Award winner for the Art of the African Diaspora in 2020. Last year, I created a poetic photography series called Chrysalis, which portrays the personal complexities of what it's like to internally reset in order to grow in regards to sheltering in place during a pandemic. The series had 6 photos, and I wrote a haiku for each photo. I wanted to implement the concept of the metamorphosis of a butterfly to convert that when a time of inevitable change occurs, the process is messy and destructive before it begins a new form or a new beginning of some sorts. Thank you so much to the Art of the African Diaspora for having me and featuring me once again this year. Thanks.
KaLiMa, would you share a little more insight?
Yes. So, as I mentioned in this series, I wrote haikus for each photo. So even though this is a series, each photo just stands by itself in terms of portraying a story. So what I can do is that I can recite these poems for each of these photos. So we can start with Fallen Fruit. And the haiku for this is, like a fallen fruit, uneasy lies the head that wears a royal crown. So with this photo, I wanted to portray a sense of like a dark phase, which is why this photo is a little bit dark, even though um, there's a lot of earthy elements. I'm outside, also being nude, as this is also something that I have been doing um, as part of my artistic practice and work throughout my series is explaining more of the rawness of what happens when one is going through a rough patch, if you may. We can go to the next one. Let's go to Somewhere in Between. And that haiku is, somewhere in between protecting my own space and protecting the lies. So where I am at, I am in like it was pretty much like an enclosed space with branches, tree branches around me, and it looked like a gate. So I wanted to portray some sort of expressing boundaries, but also having some sort of a complexity of unlearning thought patterns, but also wanting to place new boundaries as to unlearn them. We can go to the next one. Can go up. Can go to Better Than Diamonds. And the haiku is, what I know is that my liberation is mine, better than diamonds. So with this one, I wanted to convey a sense of lightness, especially as the light, there's some sunlight coming within my eyes. So it also represents an aspect of clarity. And it's also coming to an aspect of self-actualization and self-reflection. And it's also coming from a place of just giving yourself grace. And the last one is Promise Me This, which is yes, the one on the far right. And the haiku for that one is, promise me promise me just this. When the world's done resetting, I reflect this too. So with this one, I saw this tree that was slightly bended, and I wanted to see if I can also like match the tree in some way. And I had that as a vision, and yeah, I also wanted to use nudity once again to also reflect of self-expression, and also knowing that I bend and I don't break. And I feel like that's something that is kind of like a life lesson as well. You know, as you grow, you bend, you don't break. So also just honoring the flexibility within us, and how we walk through this life. And that's it. That's part of my series. And the last one that I have, which was Emerge, that's from another series called Experiment, where it was pretty much an experiment where I wanted to challenge the thought of how spirit shows up, um, and also like how we view spirit um, when we are in connection with the divine. So yes, that's it.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
It was very nice to hear the poetry.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So our next artist is Stephanie Thames. She's an emerging painter and sculptor whose work is rooted in spirituality and healing. She has been exhibiting at the Richmond Art Gallery, Jingletown Art Gallery, Merritt College Art Gallery, and Float Center Art Gallery. And Stephanie has a video as well. Could we start with that video?
Sure.
I like working with multiple mediums, but clay is the most cathartic for me. Like most of us, I'm constantly in my head. Clay helps me to channel my worries, anger, sadness in a constructive and positive manner. I'm always thinking about not only my angst, but that of others, like racism, sexism, gender issues, a lot of things that are going on in the world right now. Clay gives me the opportunity to put those emotions out there when I feel like I don't know how to verbally say how I truly feel. I also deal with multiple illnesses that cause me a lot of pain. When I have my hands in clay, trying to figure out what it's trying to say to me, I let go of all my hurts. It's true when they say art imitates life. I see things about myself in my process. When I'm struggling with my spiritual growth, I see it in the building and glazing process of working with clay. On that same note, I see how much I've grown in my finished pieces. I suspect that's why I've stayed with clay versus going back to painting or even crafting. The process of creating with clay has seen me through some of my most challenging times.
That's beautiful, Stephanie. The clay is a perfect medium for you. Can you tell us more?
Yeah. A lot of what I do, I notice when I'm working with clay, it is creating from like, something that I've been in deep thought about, or what I've noticed about people, about my outside environment, things that people are going through, the challenges, the things that people are not in agreement with, things that they're struggling with. And like for instance, the piece, The Unconscious Mind, if we can pull that one up, The Unconscious Mind. Yeah. I was thinking, this was during a time when I was thinking about how much or how toxic an unconscious mind can be when we're not aware of our thoughts and our feelings around our experiences. And it's not just individual not being aware of their own thoughts, biases, hurts, and angers, but also the world, the world around them not being aware or even caring to know what the next person has experienced or is currently experienced. So it's that disagreement is like the state of the world is like we're at odds with each other all the time. And a lot of it is generated from our own fears. So, and then it manifests itself in how we interact with each other. So, so I created this piece after being in that deep thought around how much each of us are hurting. We got, Black mothers that we're like in continuous angst over the safety of our children. We have communities, you know, in this world, we have communities in fear their safety because of gender issues, gender identity or sexual orientation. We are in fear of the Earth's survival. And we have countries that are at war with each other. So it's like, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I think that, you know, it's not being aware of how much we're holding from our own experiences. And so that's how I do a lot of my work. It's like, once again, it's like just from things that I do a lot of noticing people. I've been told before, like, oh, you think too deeply. Oh, you want to break down everything. And it's like, yeah, because it's complicated and yeah, we're complex and there's a lot going on. And I'm sorry, I can't help but to notice it. So I show that in my art. You know, I found when I started working with clay that I can express that. And so it's what I'm feeling and it's what everyone else is feeling, you know. And I get people who look at my art, my sculpture pieces, and they see something in it that they can identify with. So it's like meeting each person right where they are. You know, people ask me, well, did you intend to do this or do that? Or is this what this is about? And I don't give them answers, you know. It's like, because sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. But it's like, it's really interesting how each person sees something different. So obviously it's something that they're connecting to. And that moves me deeply there. I get so much out of that. That makes me just want to keep creating, because it's like, you know, maybe perhaps they're finding healing in it. You know, they're being touched by it. So like, that's beautiful. That's art imitating life. So yeah.
So, Stephanie, can we highlight one more piece? Maybe I'm curious about the one, is it Mother? I can't see the title on the bottom.
Oh, Mother of Grace.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's for me. It was like it's like I said, things that I think about. I think about a lot of things, you know, and I try to break it down for myself and try to get an understanding of it. And so for me, it's like, you know, women, how women, you know, to me, I see us as, you know, we are life givers. Yes, I mean, that's the obvious there, but we take care of everybody. We take care of everybody. And a lot of my work is Afrocentric, you know, it's ethnic. And I don't, it's not that something that I consciously do. At least I don't think. I don't consciously do it. It's just me, you know, so that's my identity. You know, what you see, the colors you see in my art is my identity. So if I take that and the idea of women and we as Black women, as, you know, our ancestors, for sure, you know, took they were the mothers to everybody. So, you know, it's like to the world, really. In our own way, we were physically and emotionally we are mothers to the world. And I was like, okay, I just, you know, and I think about with this one, I also was thinking about the meaning of, okay, I'm drawing blank here, sorry. You know, just yeah, I'm just, that's what this one was. It was like, okay, so we are the mothers to everyone. So I tried to put that in the colors of the figures that are holding on to her, that are reaching up to her, you know, for grace, for comfort, for healing, for, you know, it's just, that's my interpretation. You know, there's a because we, you know, we got, I tried to, you know, touch on every color, you know. It's like, okay, I don't like identifying like that. I really don't, you know, with all these colors. That's just me. You know, it's like, okay, but I'm just, but here we are, and this is the reality. And so, you know, here are all the colors, and there's a Black figure on the backside of her. So yeah, that was just me working out some things there.
It's very beautiful and very universal in feeling.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Stephanie. So Karin Turner is the last artist that we had to share, but she's not here tonight, so this is not a great photo. I'll just read a little bit about her. Karin Turner's art is all about joy, and that's apparent by her photograph. Titles and subject matter encourage the viewer to be introspective and are tools for self-development as an uplifting practice for joy. Her stylized self-portraits are purposely glamorized images that boast an idealized femininity that is autonomous, buoyant, tolerant, happy, sexual, and joyously self-loving. She takes her joy seriously, and yours too. So please visit the website and you can peruse these on your own. So we've come to the point where I would like to, right before we open up the reception to questions from the audience, I just would like Stephen Bruce, if he's still there, to tell us a little bit about the art of the African diaspora, which I've left for you to explain, and the reception that you're going to be having on March 20th. Stephen, are you there?
Hello. I'm here. Hello, everybody, and thank you all for tuning into this reception. I love the work. I love the presentations. It's great to see so many of the videos. Art of the African Diaspora. This is our I think 25th year. The exhibit has happened at the Richmond Art Center. It was the exhibit happened formerly as the Art of Living Black, and since 2019 has been managed by a steering committee of artists who've put on the show. And this year, of course, we're going virtual, and so this is our first virtual show, our first virtual reception. This one here in particular, we do have a grand reception. That'll happen, a grand opening reception that will happen on March 20th. The show itself opens on the 11th of February. And so you'll be able to view the online exhibit through the Art of the African Diaspora website, as well as the Richmond Art Center website. Richmond Art Center is our partner in this program, and is actually hosting the exhibition. And we have several partnerships, including this one, which is new with Rhythmix. And so I want to thank Rhythmix for being the first exhibit for the 2021 calendar, and showing us how a virtual reception could be engaging. So the Art of the African Diaspora was started by a couple women who felt that artists of African descent weren't getting the opportunity to show their work as freely as maybe some other artists were. and the first show was in 1997. It's been happening at the Richmond Art Center for, I believe, the last 24 years. And each year's an annual event. It's a non-juried show. And one of the exciting things about the show is that artists have the opportunity to exhibit regardless of where you're at in your career. And so, for example, tonight, you may have an artist who's maybe relatively new or emerging, and they get to show, with Tōmye, and be able to, glean from her knowledge and her experience. I remember my first exhibition was in 2007, and it was my first year as an artist, and I was in a group where I got to suck up knowledge for several weekends with artists who I used to dream about. And so that's one of the components of the show that's really special to me. The other part is that the open studios and satellite exhibitions, this is, again, the first satellite exhibition of the 2021 program. There will be a series of other satellite exhibits that'll happen. And shortly we'll have the calendar up with dates for satellite exhibitions, as well as some artists will actually be hosting open studios. And so some will be virtual, some will be in person, some will be limited in person. We're calling them hybrids. The show goes from February 11th through May 16th. So you can find exhibits all the way until May. Like I said, it's the Open Studios and Satellite Exhibition is just another opportunity for some smaller shows, maybe some themed shows throughout the Bay Area. These are all Bay Area artists. The show includes artists from the 9 Bay Area counties. That's one of the restrictions of the show. So you might find a show in Walnut Creek. There might be a show in San Francisco. Just depends. You'll be able to find those eventually on our website, in the Richmond Art Center website. And if I left anything out, Tōmye, I'm sure, can add to that.
Well, thank you, Stephen. In interest of time, we'd like to open up the reception to some questions. And if you have a question for a particular artist, can you please say who that is before you ask your question, and unmute yourself, of course. And then I think, Jennifer, I'm going to kind of hand it over to you at this point. So thank you. Thank you, all artists and all the people who attended.
Thanks, Janet.
Hi, this is Carla from Chicago. I have a question for Fan. I am just fascinated by your work, and I was wondering what other medium, do you sculpture? Do you do any other types of mediums besides painting?
Hi, cousin Carla. As you know, I do make sculptures. It's been a long time. I haven't made sculptures since I left graduate school. Right, you remember my drawings from high school, right? So yeah, I haven't made sculptures since I came to the West Coast. I left here in the 90s, and so I haven't really had the opportunity to do sculptures just because of the type of spaces that I've had. The last type of sculptures I've done were small nichos, really small pieces. And so as close as I get to sculpture is doing installations. So sometimes I'm invited to shows, and because of the theme and the time period, I do collaborative installations. And so that's about as close as I've gotten into making sculptures. So who knows what the future will bring.
Okay, maybe I'll get one for my 60th birthday. But I love it. So nice to see.
Thank you. Thank you for your support for all of these years, all of these decades. Thank you.
A question for Tōmye. Do you all have the website available for the diaspora at this point, and how I can find out more about it?
We're still working on it. Hi, Barbara. Good to
Oh,
see
yeah,
you.
it's so good to see you.
Yes. We're still working on it. We hope that it will be in place before February 11th, obviously. So if you would just leave your email in the
Okay.
chat, I'll make sure to send that to you.
Okay. I'm giving a talk this week to my classes via Zoom on Black history and Black art. I'm so delighted to see this. So I'm going to include a couple of you in my talk.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And make sure that you add the Rhythmic link to
Oh, I
be able to
will.
see the show. Yes. Thank you. So good to see you.
You too. And I loved seeing your work. I hadn't seen it for a long time.
I know it's been a while. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions?
Well, I have a question, and it's just to all of the artists. What is the quickest art piece that you've done, like the quickest amount of time, and what's been something that's been the longest amount of time? Like, how long have you worked on one particular piece, and what's the shortest amount of time? I mean, I can't imagine how quickly or how long it would take to do each of what you do.
So based on what you saw?
Yes, it's just phenomenal. I mean, you know, when you have someone who doesn't really draw, and to see it just happen, and you just, wow, it's amazing.
Well, it doesn't happen as fast as that, but I can speak for what I do, and I'm trying to think of all the ones that I've shown. I don't know that any of them were quick. I would say the one that was the most extensive is you only saw details of it. There's one of a dog on the edge of the painting at the end, at the bottom. That one I would say took the longest because it was very conceptual. And it was actually in addressing the Young had a call for a Bay Area artist to submit on the edge. And I thought that was such a perfect theme for what's going on now. Mine wasn't accepted, and I looked at a lot of the art that was, and I think that the Young, whomever were involved in the jurying, picked things that were uplifting. Mine was definitely not meant to be uplifting. It's very political. There are references to all kinds of things that we don't, or I would say I don't want in society that affect us negatively. So that one took the longest. I would say the quickest thing that I do that is not part of this particular exhibit is my glass artwork, because I can just throw glass in a kiln and it does its own thing. So I'll turn it over to another artist.
Anybody else want to speak to that question?
Yeah, I want to say that, you know, working, I found that like working with clay versus painting is like a whole different process, clearly, but I'm just saying like as far as the thought process. And of course they're, when you're working with clay, they're different, you know, it's like it's all in the timing on it. And and then you got to go through the firing and the glazing and the firing again. But as far as creating the piece, it usually for me is based on what I'm going through at that particular time in life. And I see it unfold, like I said in the video, in what I create. And I've had times, normally it takes like about the whole process to be completed, like, and I would say in about 3 or 4 months process, the creating, the firing, the glazing, then firing again. But I find that I really struggle with a piece, and it takes me longer just to create it itself to even get to the firing point, is when I'm really struggling in life, and I don't even realize it until I start working in the clay and plate. Just won't go right. Why is this not going right? And the clay's not working with me, and clay is resisting, and it has a lot to do. I start realizing it has a lot to do with how much I'm resisting, you know, how much I'm struggling with. So that's when it takes the longest, because sometimes I have to tear a piece out or just go a whole different direction with it. And yeah, so it just depends on where I'm at in life as to how long it takes me to complete a piece.
Thank you, Stephanie. I think for a non-visual artist, when you see work, it's like it was just born. So it seems like it's just there, and it didn't take all that struggle, but we know you had to work at it. So any other questions?
I have a question for Fan, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So Fan, could you talk a little bit more about how the burn, or the role that the burned paper plays in your work?
Thank you, Rebecca, for asking that question. Hi. The burned paper represents a document that's been burned, a document that has that's important. It has information supposedly that doesn't want to that shouldn't be out. So the document the document has been burned and rescued, or I should say, it's a rescue document. That's what it with all of the things that I've talked about, the content of the work, as well as, the content of the work as well as the images, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that's what it is.
Thank you, Fan. I was wondering that myself, so I'm glad she asked.
Let me also add, Rebecca, that came from my process of working on very large pieces. I was at this residency and I was working on very large drawings, and I was working on paper that was extremely thick. And what happened was I was in Montreal and I was stapling some paper on the wall, and it was really large, and then I was fighting with the paper. And so I had to, as I said to my friends, subdue it. And then I was at this residency, and so someone saw me burying and burning the paper. And so at lunchtime, they were kind of like surrounding me, asking me, what was I doing, some kind of voodoo stuff. So anyway, kind of stay with me like that. That's kind of the history of the process of it, how I got there.
Interesting. So maybe one more question, and then we'll call it an evening. Is there anybody else who'd like to ask anything?
I do. This is Pat. I don't know if you can see me or not. Pat Patterson.
See you.
Hi. First of all, I've just so enjoyed this virtual tour. It's just been wonderful. I wanted to know, by us being in this pandemic, has that slowed down your creative process? This is to any of the artists. Has it slowed it down or helped speed it up? You know how we have to be in our zone. And I just wonder, any comments about being sequestered? Has it helped to promote your creating your work, making your work, or slowed it down?
I'll say that.
Tiffany.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Tiffany.
I'll say that I've sped up quite a bit. I don't have a job anymore, so I'm an artist all the time now. So I'm making a lot of work.
Okay.
And in the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't have the attention span to work on big pieces. So I was doing like a lot of paper collages, and I do those like 5 at a time, like 5 in a day. So I'm working.
Okay.
Yeah.
The silver lining of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Thank you.
I can
Anybody
say
else
for
wanna respond? Okay.
yeah, I can say for me, with the pandemic, I felt more slowed down. However, with this particular series that I showed, that actually sparked something, because I had to create this for a virtual artist residency from the University of, oh, I'm forgetting. It was the University of Illinois, I think, for the LGBTQ studies department. So this is what like sparked things back up again. And also I'm running another business, so that also like took over a lot of my life during the pandemic, especially in the beginning. So
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Thank you.
Thank you. So, you want to wrap it up, Jennifer?
Yeah, sure. My name is Jennifer. I'm the Associate Director at Rhythmix. And we just want to thank all of the artists for sharing their work and their inspirational words this evening. And thank the audience for joining us. All the work that you saw tonight and the reception video are available now on Rhythmix website. So feel free to explore and share with your friends. I also wanted to mention that several of the pieces are for sale. So if you had a favorite, it could be yours. Just check it out on the website. And all of Rhythmix K-Gallery receptions are always free to the public. But if you feel moved, please make a donation and help us keep them free and available for everyone. You can make donations at rhythmix.org/donate. And please just, spread the word and let people know about the exhibits that are happening and the events that are happening. Check out this amazing installation that's behind me right now. It's still up in Alameda's Chochenyo Park through the end of April. So that's on display for anybody to go and look at. 3 of the artists you saw tonight have work in this installation. And just to let you know real quick about the next 2 upcoming receptions for the K-Gallery. On March 12th, we're featuring the Performance Art and Learning Gallery with works from Malik Seneferu, Sharon Virtue, and Marilyn Mori. And then on March 20th, which you heard a little bit about from Steve and Bruce, we're going to be hosting the main reception for Art of the African Diaspora. So all of that information will be up on our website very soon. And we thank you again so much for spending your Friday evening with us. And another huge shout out to these amazing artists. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and sharing all of your thoughts with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.